What a ride it was. This 49ers 2022-2023 season is over. The same place that it was over last season at the NFC Championship game. Philadelphia 31, 49ers 7, but that does not come close to telling the full story, which I'm sure everybody at this point is aware of. The 49ers were dealt an impossible hand of cards today. Nobody in the history of the NFL would have won this game with the hand of cards that the 49ers were dealt. Disregard the fact that Philadelphia is a really good opponent, that we talked about this game being a toss-up when both teams were at full strength, that we talked about Philadelphia having a day of extra rest versus the 49ers and having the 1 seed and therefore having home field advantage. Throw all that out the window. Replace the Eagles with one of the worst teams in NFL history, and the 49ers would have still had trouble winning today. Probably still would have lost today because they didn't have a quarterback. Brock Purdy, their third-string quarterback to begin with, goes down with the elbow injury. Then they go to Josh Johnson, who was really struggling, understandably so, against the ferocious Philadelphia front on the road. And then after Josh Johnson suffered a concussion, the 49ers went back to Brock Purdy in emergency fashion, but he had already injured his elbow to the point where he couldn't throw a football. So the 49ers, effectively, there was a snap there where Christian McCaffrey was the quarterback. So they got to their 5th quarterback of the season, and they were trying to win an NFC championship game. What we saw was absolutely unheard of. So the 49ers today were dealt an impossible hand of cards. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You could listen to Eagles fans talk about their football team. You could listen to NFL analysts talk about different reasons why Philadelphia's offense did this and did that. It's all bullshit. The 49ers didn't have a quarterback today. They didn't have a QB. End of story. We will never have this game fairly adjudicated. We'll never know how a 49ers team with a reasonable amount of health luck would have done against a fully stocked Philadelphia Eagles team. And that's what true football fans wanted to know, right? True football fans wanted to know, how does the juggernaut in San Francisco match up with the juggernaut here in Philadelphia? And we were robbed of that today by the football gods, by injury luck, bad luck. You could blame whoever you want, but we were robbed of it. We didn't get to see it. So it was an impossible hand of cards the 49ers faced. And, they had beaten a seemingly impossible hand of cards for a long time this season. And that's what we really need to emphasize. Zoom out for perspective, because as far as analysis of this individual NFC championship game was, we were robbed of a great game, so we're also robbed of the chance to properly analyze a great game. 49ers lost both of their healthy quarterbacks today. That was the end of the story. There's nothing else to analyze. Everything else is garbage. Everything else is okay. One good NFL team is beating up on a team without a quarterback. Great. What is there to analyze? Nothing. Everything else is fake smart analysis. So we need to zoom out and see the big picture. And in the big picture, not only did the 49ers face an impossible hand of cards today, they had beaten a seemingly impossible hand of cards for a long time this season, which is why I think some people are getting a little bit confused. Right? They say, well, the 49ers are already on their 3rd-string quarterback, so 7 straight wins with their 3rd-string quarterback. They should be just fine with their 4th-string quarterback. And it's like, no. The fact that the 49ers had beaten a seemingly impossible hand of cards for a long time this season, being on QB3, losing Trey Lance, losing Jimmy Garoppolo, going to Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, and then continuing to win even despite doing that, that's a credit to their quarterback depth and to their coaching. I wrote a whole feature on Kyle Shanahan this week about it. That's a credit to Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy. That's a credit to all those guys. People are viewing this as something that should be taken for granted. Oh, because Garoppolo was able to do it, because Brock Purdy was able to do it, it should be easy. But today disproved that, right? Today you saw when Josh Johnson came in, you saw the steep drop-off. Maybe the truth is that Brock Purdy is just really good, that Jimmy Garoppolo is just really good, but unfortunately these guys haven't been able to stay healthy. And that's been the bane of the 49ers' existence, especially the quarterback position over the past several years. They haven't been able to stay consistently healthy. But, I mean, you look at the positives when you zoom out. The Brock Purdy story this season was legendary. You had a 7th-round draft pick, Mr. Irrelevant, come in and rip off those 7 straight victories as the starter, 8 if you count the Miami game. You had him win 2 playoff games. And yes, he has a stacked roster around him, but the stacked roster didn't do anything for the 49ers today when they didn't have that quarterback leadership helming the way. They needed Brock Purdy. They needed somebody healthy, somebody who could actually throw there today, who wasn't Josh Johnson. And Josh Johnson got hurt anyway, but they needed something more out of that quarterback position, and they didn't get it. But for several weeks prior to this, they did get it from Brock Purdy. And what a story and what a ride it was. I think that it was Fred Warner who said it best today, because Brock Purdy was beating himself up a little bit after the football game. And Warner said he has no reason to beat himself up, because the 49ers don't make it to this level unless Brock Purdy did something absolutely special this season. 1 second. I thought I had my ring light on, but I guess it turned off. There we go. Turn it down a little bit. It's like too bright right now, I feel. I think that's fine. It's just one of these portable ones that I take with me on the road. But yeah, anyway, the Brock Purdy story this year was absolutely legendary. And, you know, the 49ers, let's look at the big picture. They're set to maintain a talented roster moving forward. Now, this is what I wrote about on The Athletic. There is definitely some consternation and some legitimate worry about the team's ability to maintain a strong roster moving forward. They've got $217 million in 2023 liabilities already. The cap was only $208 million this season. It's going to grow a bit next year, maybe a lot next year, but the 49ers still have to make a lot of signings with what's not going to be a lot of cap space. And they don't have any 1st or 2nd round draft picks. So it is going to be tricky to perpetuate the type of dominant roster that the 49ers fielded this year, which is why there's always that feeling after losses like this. It's like, oh, did we miss our chance? Nick Bosa, was sharing those feelings today. Not that he believes them, but there's always that weird sense of finality after losing in the playoffs and taking it so far. And the 49ers have taken this really far. They've been in 3 of the past 4 NFC championships games. But we do know that on the surface level, I'm going to delve into all of this offseason. I get really analytical. I'll look at the cap. I'll look at all the pieces that the 49ers have. But just on a surface level, I could summarize for you right now that the 49ers have a very good chance of maintaining a deep and powerful roster entering next season. Now, as far as the quarterback position goes, that's going to make this offseason one of the most interesting 49ers offseasons ever. And I think it's way too early to speculate because MRI results aren't even back on Brock Purdy yet. They're saying UCL injury. I think this was coming from Adam Schefter. Couldn't grip the football today. UCL is a scary, scary term in the world of injuries to throwing athletes, right? Baseball pitchers and football quarterbacks. It's normally dealt with in baseball because if that elbow ligament is fully ruptured, there's a good chance that Tommy John surgery, which is a long recovery, will be needed. And they're hoping, the 49ers are, that Brock Purdy does not have a torn UCL, which would mean that he wouldn't need Tommy John surgery, which might mean that he could come back in 6 weeks, which obviously would be a promising timeline for this offseason. But if Purdy is done for a longer period of time, well, Trey Lance is still in a walking boot right now, but obviously the 49ers would turn more attention toward him. Jimmy Garoppolo is a pending free agent. The 49ers bring in a different veteran. One of the glories of having 2 capable young quarterbacks on rookie deals in Purdy and Lance is that they're both relatively cheap on rookie contracts, and the 49ers have so many expenses elsewhere, don't have to worry about paying the QB position. But right now, we don't even know what the status of the QB position is, since Purdy, de facto QB1, is hurt, and Lance, the big investment, is still in a walking boot. So it's going to be a fascinating offseason to see how this develops. But I think in general, 49ers are still set to maintain a very talented roster moving forward after being dealt an impossible hand of cards in Philadelphia today. So I'm here for you. You guys can vent. You guys can ask some questions. We can talk a little bit about the game. Is there anything the 49ers could have done differently in Philly today to win? I think when Purdy went down, their chances of winning went to somewhere between 1% and 5%. 5 might be generous. They could have, I think, gone exclusively run with Josh Johnson still in the game with just a tiny bit of offsetting pass threat from Josh Johnson. I definitely disagreed with the 49ers, and I think I was proven right in this, but I definitely disagreed with them pushing the ball during the 2-minute drill with Josh Johnson against the league's best pass rush. That ended up sealing their fate when Johnson couldn't handle that snap. There's a reason why he's the fourth string quarterback and has never been a starter anywhere, Josh Johnson, and that's because there's a higher risk of him screwing up. And if you're just going shotgun drop back, there's many ways to screw up as an NFL quarterback. Meanwhile, there seemed to be a good chance that Christian McCaffrey could beat even a stacked Eagles defense. The touchdown run that we saw from Christian McCaffrey today was one of the most sensational plays of the year in the NFL, and he broke 4 or 5 tackles. And the 49ers, if they would have run their offense around that, if Christian McCaffrey would have been the focal point in that 2-minute drill, well, they don't fall behind 21-7, or yeah, it was 14-7 at the time. They don't fall behind 21-7, and maybe they can even get a field goal in that case. And they go into halftime down 14-10. And for either 14-7 or 14-10, you don't get picky. It was a lot better than 21-7 in that game. The only path to victory for the 49ers after losing Brock Purdy would have been defense dominating, offense opportunistic here and there, picks up enough yardage to sustain a drive to kick a field goal. They blew a chance in the first half on a delay of game with Josh Johnson. I mean, 49ers shot themselves in the foot many times. Defense shot themselves in the foot on the 14-play drive from the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, the 49ers, I mean, the formula to still compete in this game was there, but it was such a narrow path that you couldn't reasonably expect the 49ers to follow it. The bottom line is that they lost 2 quarterbacks and were dealt an impossible hand of cards in Philly. And the only path to potential victory would have been after they had lost only one of those quarterbacks. So it was still a technically possible path, but they butchered that. The 49ers didn't run that correctly when it did happen. So instead, we're zooming out. We're reflecting on the ride that it was, the end of the 49ers season. They played 20 games this year. That matched a franchise record. Last year was 20 games as well. Last year, the 49ers won 12 of those 20. They went 12-8 over those 20 games. This season, the 49ers won 15 of those 20. They went 15-5. Ever since picking up Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers were the number 1 offense in the league, the number 1 defense in the league, and the number 5 special teams unit in the league. What they accomplished this year, especially down the stretch, was impressive and suggests they should be contenders for at least a couple more years to come. But again, this offseason might be the most interesting 49ers offseason ever, and stuff in the NFL can change quickly. So we're going to sit back and be patient. Time to go to the comments section, see what you guys are up to. I am thirsty. It's been a hard day of work. I stopped at Pat's Cheesesteaks on the way back from the stadium. Got myself a cheesesteak. Now I'm here. It's 1:20 a.m. But I hope everybody enjoyed the year of coverage. I know that everything blew up this year with the channel. A lot of my written work, my Twitter. I think I'm at 90,000 almost on Twitter. So I thank everybody for following along. I'm not done yet. I'm still covering the Niners. I'm not leaving. At least not right now. But I'm not done yet in terms of this season's coverage. I'm going to be in the locker room when they clean it out this week. We're going to talk to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and we're going to get this offseason coverage started off right. And then I got some fun plans for you in the offseason. I personally am happy and proud to say that I unloaded everything that I had into this playoff run. I mean, I went to Kezar Stadium. I went to Candlestick Park. I wrote the feature on Kyle Shanahan, the feature on Purdy. I did the John Lynch suite to field level video. Every single ounce of creative energy that I had in me this year, I felt that I poured out for you, for the viewer, for the reader, maybe both in some of your cases. And to be honest, I did my best. I think I did better than 2019, 2020, 2021. The goal is to get better every year. And my plan is to get even better in 2023 and bring you some more good coverage. So it's not possible without a good audience. So thank you, everybody, for being a part of it. It fuels me to bring more content. And, we want to thank Mike, too. Give Mike a round of applause. It's been a hell of a season. Mike came aboard. Mike's been with us now for 2 seasons, right? And Mike has been just doing a great job moderating everything. The thumbnails are awesome. They're going to continue to be awesome. So it's been a lot of fun just connecting with you, leading you to some of my articles on The Athletic, and in general, building a sense of community here based on thoughtful discussion. All right. So let me see. Are there any questions here? I am tired. It's 1:22 a.m. Yeah, there's so much talk about Tom Brady. The thing, oh my God, I just spilled on my computer. That's terrible. Give me 1 second. I got to get a paper towel or something. 1 second, guys. Ugh. This is unbelievable. Let me put the article up on the screen and go fetch this paper towel. Not a good day for anybody. Trucking on despite the fact that I spilled. Crazy. All right. Here's the towel. Nice little spot I got in Philly, though. I'm really happy with it. If you come to Philly, a place called The Hyde. H-E-I-D, The Hyde. No, I did not fall asleep. I spilled on my keyboard. I spilled this glass of water on my keyboard. Terrible. Terrible. Flying out back to SFO tomorrow. It's going to be a long flight. Flying back west always takes a little bit longer than flying to the east. And let's talk. Let's answer some questions. What a season for the 49ers. I mean, they started this thing 3-4. They've started the last 2 seasons slowly. But this was a different 3-4 than last year. Lance got hurt in week 2. Garoppolo, remember training camp? Garoppolo was on the side field. It took him a while to knock off some of the rust. They picked up Christian McCaffrey about halfway through. That was a sensational addition. McCaffrey's still under contract for 3 more years. It's just getting started on that front. 49ers do need to fortify this football team. I mean, there are many positions that are in question. I think you got to find a bookend to Nick Bosa. I think that's one area where the team has gotten worse since 2019. You're going to have to continue to make sure that secondary is up to par. Maybe you do like Deommodore Lenoir opposite Charvarius Ward, but Deshaun Gibson's going to be a free agent. Jimmy Ward is scheduled to be a free agent. Quarterback depth, always important. It cost the season today. I mean, they had depth, but they just ran out of it because they kept on burning through guys due to injuries. But the offensive line, I mean, that's one thing. You got to protect the quarterbacks that you have. So they made strides in pass protection this year, but they have to make more strides. And today, it's hard to tell. Purdy was in there for such a short period of time before getting hurt. The Hassan Reddick hit that caused the Purdy injury actually came when Reddick was rushing against the tight end in Tyler Kroft. So the 49ers need to abandon this idea that having tight ends block premier edge rushers one-on-one is going to work. That's one of the things that the 49ers just absolutely need to scrap. We've seen tight ends get beaten way too often. Maybe Purdy should have released that ball quicker. But in general, the 49ers need to get better in protecting the quarterback in these high stakes, high leverage situations. Nick Bosa has to get re-signed this offseason. He obviously will. He's not leaving. You've got Bosa, and you've got to add a bookend for Bosa. Ebukam, Amenahu, Jordan Willis, all fine players, but this pass rush is not what it was back when D Ford was there, healthy. So let's see if they can find an edge rusher to roar around and take out opposing offensive tackles. The problem is they don't have a draft pick until late in the third round, and they have limited cap space. So it's going to be another game of Tetris this offseason that John Lynch has to play, Adam Peters has to play to replenish this roster. But still, we could still sit back and talk about how much this team accomplished this year. What an entertaining run. There are only 4 teams left today. 28 teams had already been eliminated. The 49ers were in that Final Four despite having more QB injury issues than anybody else. We'll see if Drake Jackson's that guy opposite Bosa. I always think the most important offseason for players is the offseason between year 1 and year 2. And maybe Drake Jackson did run out of a little bit of gas there at the end of year 1. In college, they played 12-game seasons. The 49ers just played a 20-game season. So it makes sense that a guy would run out of gas at the end of the year. Plus, the games change style, right? They turn into games where you really have to stop the run. And 49ers, I think definitely focused on that down the stretch. But if Drake Jackson can make the strides they need him to make here into year 2, maybe that opens the door for the 49ers to have a guy develop into that Bosa bookend at edge rusher. Thank you, Victor. Bookend to Bosa for sure. Need to align value with output. Armstead and McGlinchey might be a bit overpaid. Chiefs and Eagles have it figured out. I don't think Armstead is overpaid. We'll see what McGlinchey gets this offseason. I mean, Armstead's one of the best players in football with the impact. I mean, we see the defensive line and its ability to stop the run. That's so much of that is Armstead. And, when you team him with Bosa, he's a game changer. What they do, but he's an inside guy, Armstead. That's how they've been playing him. They need an outside guy opposite Bosa to recreate the dynamic that they had in 2019. I did see Trent Williams in the locker room. I didn't talk to him. Trent was obviously upset. It was a very rough situation there. Him at 42, both got ejected. The body slam. I mean, don't upset Trent Williams. That's all I have to say about that. That was a violent body slam. That guy is strong out on the field. But 42 was poking a little bit there for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was antagonizing Brandon Ayuk, and I think Trent Williams was obviously upset and defending one of his teammates. Josh Johnson was not only the best QB available after today. Josh Johnson was the only QB available today. Listen, when late in the season, there aren't a lot of quarterbacks available at all in the league. Like everybody that you would have possibly thrown out there, it wasn't going to be good. So it's really, really unfortunate for the 49ers that not only did Jimmy Garoppolo get hurt, but then Brock Purdy got hurt today. You could if and what all about it, but that's just what happened. At a certain level, you can't expect any available quarterback to satisfactorily fill a QB4 role for you. And the 49ers got to QB4 today. Drew Brees? No, I don't think. And Drew Brees was a shell of his former self last year. All right, guys. Give me some real questions. Oh, this is a good one right here. I just lost it. This, I think Kyle Shanahan messed up. I think Kyle Shanahan left a challenge in his pocket and it killed the 49ers. Devontae Smith acted guilty of a drop or not catching the ball as soon as he got up. He rushed and got everybody to run to the line. That should have been the sign for the 49ers to throw that challenge flag. That was a big fail on Kyle's part. Nick Sirianni threw the challenge flag the next possession, right? I think it was Brock Purdy on the next possession on the play that he got hurt. Sirianni threw the challenge flag and got the fumble out of that play. He wasn't afraid to throw the challenge flag. Kyle Shanahan was on the Devontae Smith play. And that was a 14-point swing between those two decisions. And that put the 49ers behind the 8 ball early. Kyle Shanahan also decided to put his foot on the gas by dropping Josh Johnson back in a 2-minute drill after Josh Johnson had looked decidedly bad against a decidedly good Eagles pass rush. Game was 14-7 at the time. I don't think the 49ers needed to be as brazen as they were. And I think that, a shotgun formation, when the run game is clearly your best ticket with a fourth string quarterback against a ears pinned back pass rush, this isn't smart, especially with your team supposed to get the ball first in the second half. The 49ers would have had a slight chance to still hang on and win this game had they trailed only 14-7 at halftime, 21-7, and it was over. So it wasn't a good game for Kyle Shanahan. And, his team got its asses kicked, 31-7. So that's just how it ended up. Godzilla has a good point. Despite all the injuries Jimmy Garoppolo sustained, he's still the 49ers' only quarterback to start a full season, 2019. And that season generally happened without an injury. Maybe that's reflective of the pass protection that hasn't been good enough under the Kyle Shanahan tenure. Quarterbacks getting hurt all the time. Trey Lance got hurt because he was running the football, but his throwing wasn't developed yet at the level that obviously, didn't make Kyle Shanahan comfortable. So injuries elsewhere. Brian Hoyer, it wasn't an injury. He got benched in 2017, but then you had Beathard and Mullins, and Garoppolo played all of 2019. So that's a good point. But even Garoppolo's been getting hurt for the 49ers. And I think a lot of it is a pass protection issue. Now, they improved the pass protection this year up to number 3 in NFL pass blocking efficiency, but obviously didn't really get to display that improvement today in Philadelphia. The O-line did get banged up in 2019. You're right. They overcame that. Garoppolo overcame it. Quick release. That was an impressive season for the 49ers in 2019. Are there actually comments about moving on from Kyle Shanahan? Are people kidding me? Is this seriously a thing? I don't follow Twitter and the comment section closely enough. Get out of here if those are comments. Shanahan's doing an objectively good job as the coach of the 49ers. They've been to 3 of the past 4 NFC championship games. Kyle Shanahan was on his 5th quarterback today. Sorry, his 4th quarterback got hurt. This should not, I could talk about Shanahan not having a good game. He objectively didn't, but he's also objectively doing a good job as the coach of the 49ers. Those two things can be true at once. This is a good summary. Trolls are saying that, but he did get out coached today. True. Just like the 49ers got outplayed today. And it's not hard to get outplayed when you are on your 5th quarterback, as they were when Christian McCaffrey came into this game. Or QB5 is also an injured Brock Purdy, who's not the same as a healthy Brock Purdy. For those of you who feel like this, uh, saying that the 49ers could have won that game is a pipe dream. They had a tiny chance to win that game when the quarterback injuries are factored in, a tiny chance. So they would have had to have done everything perfectly. They would have had to play more conservatively, let their defense score. I'm sorry, it just wasn't their day. That's the healthiest way to look at this. It just wasn't the 49ers' day. And that's sports. Sometimes it's not going to break in your favor. Today it didn't break in their favor. When you are down to your fifth quarterback of the season, it is not your day. And you lose two in the NFC Championship and you have no healthy quarterbacks who can throw a forward pass. It's just not your day. So sometimes in sports, you just have to say, hey, this sucks. Reminds me of the Niners in 96. Steve Young against the Eagles actually broke his ribs. Or no. Sorry. Dislocated a rib. It was kind of misdiagnosed. Dislocated a rib. They couldn't figure it out. He was in total pain for the course of a week. They played the Packers on the road in the divisional playoffs, lost 35-14, and Steve Young only lasted a few plays because his rib hurt too much and none of the pain-killing injections worked. And they had to take him out, put an Elvis Gurr back, and they lost the game. Now, they still had a healthy quarterback in that game. They probably had Jeff Brom behind Elvis Gurr back, right, in 1996. But I digress. 49ers back then lost because the quarterback position was compromised, and today they lost because the quarterback position was even more compromised. I'm not going to put up your comment words of wisdom, but I really could care less. If you're upset at me for telling it how it is with class and respect, then just go ahead and leave, because your words aren't respectable at all, especially since you can't even put your actual name behind your comments. More like words of foolishness instead of words of wisdom. So, I'm here to tell it as it is. And Kyle Shanahan has guided the 49ers to 3 NFC championships in 4 years. I'm also the first to criticize Kyle Shanahan when he does make a coaching error, as I criticized him many times today. So just because some viewers or some readers are incapable of viewing something in a nuanced take of gray area and they need everything to be black and white, just because you're incapable of doing that doesn't mean that I'm incapable of doing that. Okay, so we can make that clear. So you can go ahead and leave the show and not watch if you're not happy with it. Well, Lance's season was done. They couldn't bring him off of IR. Yes, he had shattered his ankle, and then he had to have a second surgery to remove a device or screw from his ankle. So Lance is in a boot, and he wasn't going to be able to come back this year. This franchise deserves Nathaniel Hackett if they hate Kyle so much. That's hilarious. Yeah, have a coach that's trying to kick a 63-yard field goal to tie or win a game. Gosh, that was terrible from Denver this year. I don't think they're going to get Brady next year. Everybody's asking about it. The national media seems to want it to happen, but part of the situation that finds the 49ers, still in a favorable spot to maintain their roster is the inexpensive quarterback room they have with Purdy and Lance. Now we got to wait to see what the Purdy injury is before we know a little bit more. So let's wait to see. Let's wait to see what the MRI says on Brock Purdy. That's all that we can do right now. Right now, we're still in this limbo of, okay, we need to know the injury report before we set the table for the offseason. And Brady didn't look good this year. I see a couple comments pointing that out. That absolutely is true. And I don't know about Garoppolo either. I think cost saving at the quarterback position is important. Now, that being said, if everybody's hurt, if all the other options are hurt, you're going to have to pay for somebody. And the 49ers offense, again, somebody has pointed out, only Garoppolo has finished the season for the 49ers healthy. So they're in this bizarro world now where, they try to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo because health was a concern. A lack of health was a concern. And now a lack of health is a concern with all the other quarterbacks that have since played instead of him. So the one thing about Brady is he hasn't missed a game in a long time. But would that have still been the case if he was playing behind the 49ers offensive line? I don't know. And hey, the 49ers, again, better in pass protection this year, but you can't have a tight end like Tyler Kroft trying to block Hassan Reddick. That's not the offensive line's fault. Seems to have been a schematic fault. Maybe Brock Purdy gets some blame on that. Maybe he should have identified that better pre-snap, but that is where he got hurt. Do I think that the quarterbacks get hurt because, this is a good question right here, but I lost it. Oh, yeah, so many of you asking. I think the quarterbacks get hurt because of Kyle's system or genuinely bad luck. I mean, a little bit of both. I mean, obviously Trey Lance ran a lot, so he's going to get more likely to get hurt. And that was because Trey Lance wasn't a polished passer. Kyle's system, some of that could be attributable to the bad pass protection because he's focusing on run blocking instead of pass blocking. But they tried to address that this year, and guys still got hurt. So bad luck usually is the answer when you talk about players getting hurt. People want to blame, but bad luck is a thing. And, we talk about Kyle Shanahan's team's always injured. The 49ers actually got healthy toward the end of this year and had a remarkable run with a team of really good health. And then it was the QBs that both got hurt here at the end of the season. So sometimes it just works in funny ways. All right. Well, I am going to go to bed, guys. It's been good. What a ride it was, reflecting on the end of the 49ers season. The 49ers were dealt an impossible hand of cards today in Philadelphia. And, perspective on that is that they had beaten a seemingly impossible hand of cards for a long time this season. The Brock Purdy story was indeed legendary. 7th round pick, number 262, Mr. Irrelevant. 12-game win streak. The 49ers, until today here in Philly, hadn't lost in over 3 months. I mean, that was just impressive stuff ever since they got Christian McCaffrey. It was jaw-dropping efficiency from the 49ers. But because they were overcoming such crazy odds with these quarterback injuries, maybe the sense was that they could overcome anything. But if you push the edge long enough, eventually you're going to find the edge. And the 49ers found the edge as they were dealt an impossible hand of cards in Philadelphia on Sunday. But they still can maintain a talented roster moving forward. It's just going to be very, very interesting this offseason to see how they do that. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be interesting. That's what I wrote about in this article, which I'm copying and pasting and putting in the chat section. So go ahead and check it out. I talk about what the 49ers could have done differently in Philly today. Not much. When you lose 2 quarterbacks and don't have anybody that can throw the ball quite literally downfield, no quarterbacks ready to throw the ball, you're probably going to lose the football game. Maybe you crawl into a shell in the first half and hope that your defense can score for you, but I don't think that would have worked either. So at the end of the day, the impossible hand of cards ended up finishing this fantastic 49ers season. They won 15 of their 20 games. They made it back to the NFC Championship game. What a ride it was. I'm glad that you are with me here to reflect on it. Everybody take care. Talk to you soon. It's going to be one fun off season to cover. Bye now.